10 millennia ago, at the conclusion of the Great Ice Age, an extraterrestrial device arrived on Earth with the intent to alter humanity forever, transforming them into something far from human, mutants. In response to this threat, a legendary warrior named Zayn Nietzsche gathered the ancient tribes under his banner and sealed the alien machine deep within the Earth. Afterward, Zayn's descendants formed a secretive order based in Eastern Europe, charged with preserving the knowledge of this device. Over centuries, the story of the machine was woven into myths and recorded in a sacred text known as the Chronicles. But by the year 2707, the machine had become a distant myth, lost to time, while Earth's natural resources were depleted, and the world fell under the control of 4 megacorporations, constantly warring over what little remained. In Europe, the Bauhaus Corporation prepared for battle against their rival, the Capital Corporation. Unbeknownst to both factions, they were fighting on ground that concealed the ancient machine. Commanders from both sides, Steiner of Bauhaus and Nathan of Capital, rallied their troops, though spirits were low on the Capital side due to mounting losses. Sergeant Mitch, a steadfast soldier, collected the dog tags of his fallen comrades, vowing to honor their memory. As Bauhaus unleashed its tanks, Capital retaliated with massive cannon fire, igniting a battle that shook the land. Amidst the chaos, a blast unearthed the long-buried machine, cracking the seal that had kept it dormant for millennia. Yet no one noticed the ominous event as the fight raged on. The release of poison gas into the Capital trenches claimed more lives as Bauhaus soldiers advanced, mercilessly cutting through the weakened defenses. Mitch barely survived a close encounter, saved by Nathan, who heroically defended him. Their fight for survival continued. But the real danger came not from human enemies, but from the ancient machine. From beneath the ground, grotesque mutants began to crawl out, monstrous creatures, twisted by the machine's influence. They descended upon the Capital soldiers, decimating them within moments. Bauhaus soldiers, too, were soon caught off guard and unalived by the mutants. Nathan and Mitch, struggling to survive, stumbled upon the bodies of their fallen comrades. Believing Bauhaus was responsible, they sought revenge. When Nathan finally encountered Steiner, the two men blamed each other for the carnage. A knife fight broke out, only to be interrupted by the realization that their true enemy was neither Bauhaus nor Capital. It was the growing horde of mutants. The two leaders, seeing the greater threat, agreed to an uneasy truce. Both armies joined forces and opened fire on the advancing mutants, but the creatures were relentless. During the chaos, a brave soldier named Jonah was gravely injured. As an evacuation plane arrived, Nathan took it upon himself to distract the mutants, allowing the survivors to escape. Mitch managed to carry Jonah to safety, but Nathan ran out of ammunition and was tragically overwhelmed by the monstrous horde. News of the mutant outbreak quickly reached the Order of Nietzsche. Brother Samuel, the Order's leader, along with a mysterious nun named Severian, consulted the ancient chronicles in search of answers. According to the sacred text, the mutants took the wounded and dead to the machine, transforming them into more creatures, making them virtually unstoppable. The only hope, the chronicles foretold, lay in a prophesied chosen one destined to destroy the machine. Samuel, determined to act, summoned the leaders of the 4 megacorporations to discuss the crisis. The mutants had already overrun major cities, and the leaders debated evacuating humanity to Mars. But Samuel argued that there weren't enough ships for such a plan, and even if they could escape, the mutants were intelligent enough to follow. Instead, Samuel proposed a bold plan: send a specialized team to destroy the machine. The corporate leaders, however, were divided, and no consensus was reached. Meanwhile, life in the cities deteriorated under the mutant onslaught. Evacuation efforts began, but as Samuel had predicted, there were not enough ships to save everyone. Families were torn apart, soldiers were unalived in the streets, and chaos reigned. In some instances, attempts to bomb the mutants ended in catastrophe, as the blasts brought down evacuation ships, unaliving civilians in the process. In a private meeting, one of the corporate leaders, too ill to join the evacuation, entrusted Samuel with his personal ship and tickets, urging him to recruit volunteers for the mission by promising safety for their loved ones. Samuel accepted the task, but before he could leave, mutants descended upon the leader, claiming yet another life. In the aftermath of the battle, Mitch visits Nathan's family to deliver the heartbreaking news. Nathan's wife is devastated, struggling with how to protect her young daughter. They were not selected for evacuation, leaving her feeling helpless. Mitch, though overwhelmed with his own sorrow, does his best to console her, but deep down, he feels powerless. That evening, Mitch, filled with grief, heads to a local bar. He drops the dog tags of his fallen comrades into a glass of whiskey, drowning his sorrows in alcohol. As he sinks deeper into despair, Samuel approaches him, offering Mitch a chance to join a crucial mission. Initially, Mitch refuses, consumed by the weight of his guilt. However, when Samuel promises him evacuation tickets, Mitch's resolve shifts. He accepts, driven by a new purpose. The following morning, Nathan's wife contemplates a grim decision of taking a substance that unalive her and her daughter to spare them from the horrors of the mutant invasion. But before she can act, Mitch arrives, offering her the tickets Samuel had given him. Grateful and tearful, she accepts them, ensuring their escape. Soon after, Samuel assembles a team of elite warriors willing to embark on the perilous mission to destroy the machine. They gather in secret to discuss their plan, which involves traversing ancient underground tunnels to reach the machine's core. A special explosive must be planted and activated using a key, which they believe resides within the machine itself. Samuel has faith that one among them is the destined chosen one, capable of solving any unforeseen challenges. Before setting off, Commander Steiner introduces the group to a captured mutant held in a secure cell. Severian, demonstrating her lethal expertise, eliminates the creature with precision, teaching the team how to defeat them using phosphorus explosives, fire weapon, or a well-aimed strike with a sword. As the mutant breathes its last, Mitch briefly sees what he thinks is a flicker of humanity in the creature before it dies. With weapons and supplies in hand, the team prepares to board an aircraft for their dangerous journey. Each warrior is given a sacred sword, believed to hold ancient power. The flight is turbulent, but the aircraft manages to stay airborne. As they travel, the team shares stories of the loved ones they ensured were safely evacuated with the tickets they sacrificed for the mission. Suddenly, they spot a civilian aircraft heading straight toward them. Attempts to communicate with it are met with silence. To their horror, they realize the ship has been overtaken by mutants. The team opens fire, but their shots miss, and the enemy ship vanishes into the clouds. Moments later, an explosion rocks their own aircraft. The blast ignites a fire on board, and the team scrambles for the escape pod, only to find it jammed. The injured pilot, using his final breath, manually releases the pod. The parachute deploys, but it can't bear the weight of the pod for long. When the chute tears, the capsule plummets toward the ground at a terrifying speed. Just before they crash into a building, they manage to deploy the backup parachute. The landing is rough, but the team survives, save for the captain, who is mortally wounded by shrapnel. Mitch gives him a grenade, and as the team moves on, they hear the explosion in the distance, a final act of defiance from the captain. As they make their way through a mutant-occupied city, Mitch is appalled to witness soldiers exploiting civilians. Charging exorbitant prices for evacuation, these corrupt soldiers beat anyone who protests. Enraged, Mitch confronts them, unaliving one when they refuse to cooperate. The remaining soldier, terrified, lets the civilians board the evacuation ships for free. Steiner, however, reprimands Mitch, warning him that his impulsiveness could jeopardize the mission. Following an ancient map from the Chronicles, the team eventually reaches an abandoned church. Beneath the church, they believe, lies a hidden network of tunnels leading to the machine. Lowering themselves through the roof on ropes, the team is unnerved by the eerie statues and countless bones scattered throughout the church. They descend into the catacombs, following the path outlined in the book, until they discover the lost city of the ancients. Their next challenge is to descend 60 stories down an ancient elevator shaft to reach the tunnels. Kim Woo, one of the team's best marksmen, sets up a foothold at the top to provide cover as the others begin their careful descent. They reach the specified distance in the book, but find no entrance in sight. As Samuel checks the chronicles for clues, he becomes distracted and loses his grip, slipping from the rope. Mitch tries to save him, but the chain breaks and Samuel falls into the darkness below. Luckily, Samuel survives the fall, but a horde of mutants awaits him. Mitch leaps into action, descending to Samuel's side and using bullets and fire to hold off the creatures. Steiner, hearing the commotion, tosses a grenade, which Severian skillfully catches and throws into the pit, clearing the way without harming Samuel. As the rest of the team joins the fray, a brutal battle ensues. Mutants swarm from every direction, and the warriors fight with everything they have, their swords gleaming as they strike down their relentless enemies. Despite their best efforts, the team is soon overwhelmed by the swarm of mutants. Realizing they can't win this fight, they sprint toward the next chamber, but the mutants quickly pursue them, forcing the team into a corner. From above, Kim Woo, positioned with his machine fire weapon, furiously mows down as many mutants as he can until his ammo is depleted. As the creatures clamber into the elevator shaft to harm him, Kim Woo sets the rope on fire, sending the cabin plummeting. He fights with his swords, but ultimately grabs a mutant's knife arm, using its own weapon against it to finish the creature. Meanwhile, at the bottom, the rest of the team prepares to engage in a sword battle, just as the elevator crashes down on top of the mutants. The explosion wipes out many of the attackers, but a few still remain. Just when the team is ready to resume the fight, Kim Woo's hand emerges from the wreckage. He activates a grenade, unaliving himself to finish off the remaining mutants. After a solemn moment of respect for their fallen comrade, the team presses on. As they continue, Samuel consults the chronicles again, much to Mitch's frustration. Mitch can't fathom what's so important about a dusty old book, but Samuel urges him to have faith. Pouring water on the ground, Samuel reveals hidden tunnels beneath their feet. They enter quickly and move through to another chamber, where they carefully inch along a narrow ledge, watching mutants below dragging wounded humans to the machine. Mitch is horrified to spot Nathan among the captives. Steiner warns him to stay put, but Mitch defies the order and descends to rescue his friend. After sneaking up on the mutants, Mitch fired a stalactite, which falls and crushes the creature dragging Nathan. Reunited, Mitch carries Nathan to safety. In his weakened state, Nathan asks about his family. Mitch assures him they've escaped to Mars, allowing Nathan to die in peace. Accepting his friend's suffering, Mitch mercifully ends his pain. Meanwhile, the rest of the team reaches a precarious bridge they must cross silently to avoid alerting the mutants below. A sudden pebble drop catches everyone's attention, causing Steiner to lose his footing. He barely clings to the edge, yelling and alerting the creatures to their location. Steiner, holding the explosive, is on the verge of falling when Severian reaches out to retrieve the device. As the mutants swarm him, Steiner opens fire, but it's clear he's doomed. Samuel suggests leaving him behind, but the team refuses, diving in to save him. A fierce battle erupts, but the mutant forces are too strong. One by one, the team members fall, with Samuel meeting a tragic end. The mutants drag their bodies toward the machine, and in the aftermath, Mitch arrives to find Samuel's dog Tag, deeply affected by the loss. Before he can mourn, a mutant attacks, but Severian saves him with a quick warning, the first words she has spoken in years. She explains what happened, and Mitch gathers the remaining pages of the book, asking Severian to decipher them. Unfortunately, Severian admits she can't read, but has always placed her trust in the book's message. Determined to move forward, Mitch and Severian venture toward the heart of the cave. Setting up explosives, they manage to block the entrance, unaliving several mutants and allowing Mitch to rescue Valerie and Steiner. Peering into the pit at the center of the cave, Mitch discovers a strange mechanism converting people into mutants with every full rotation. With no time to waste, Severian and Valerie tie themselves to ropes and descend toward the machine while Mitch and Steiner hold the ropes from above. As the mutants break through the barricade, Steiner leaves Mitch to hold the rope alone, rushing into battle with a final grenade. Steiner had to pay a sacrifice by risking his life unaliving many mutants alone, but leaving Mitch to struggle with the weight of the ropes. Unable to hold on, Mitch and the women plummet into the pit. They land safely, but Mitch is captured by the mechanism and subjected to radiation and implanted chips. He narrowly escapes being fully transformed by dodging the final chip, breaking free and destroying the machine's arm. Despite his face showing signs of mutation, Mitch regains control and helps the women fight off more mutants. They reach the core of the machine, but Mitch struggles to understand how to detonate the explosives. Flipping through the few remaining pages of the book, he tries to make sense of the instructions. Meanwhile, Severian freezes when a mutated Samuel appears, but when Samuel attacks, she is forced to defend herself. Valerie falls in the ensuing battle, her body brutally severed by the machine. Desperate, Mitch takes over Valerie's position, fighting off more mutants while urging Severian to finish Samuel. But she hesitates, unable to unalive her mentor. Samuel pierces Severian and throws her aside. Mitch and Samuel then engage in a brutal hand-to-hand fight, trading blows until Mitch grabs the dog tags of his fallen comrades and strikes Samuel with them. In that moment, Mitch notices a page from the book lying next to a sacred sword. Realizing the sword is the key, he pierces Samuel and simultaneously inserts the blade into the machine. The ceiling hatch opens and the entire structure begins to tremble. Samuel tells Mitch to take a leap of faith. After a moment of hesitation, Mitch jumps into the underground river below, emerging to watch the machine rise into the sky and disappear into space, finally leaving Earth behind. And that wraps up this epic tale of survival, sacrifice, and the battle between humanity and an ancient alien machine. With a gripping storyline, intense fight scenes, and a powerful message about faith and destiny, this movie takes us on a wild journey through a dystopian future filled with terrifying mutants and a quest to save the world. What did you think of the film's ending? Was Mitch the true chosen one, or was it the team's unity that ultimately saved humanity? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to give this review a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and click the bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one for more thrilling movie breakdowns.